Welcome to another video by Economies. In this video, we are going to discuss an introduction to the Solow model. And particularly, we're going to discuss in this video about the question of why developing economies grow faster than developed economies. One would think, based on their intuition merely, that developed economies must grow faster because they have more, right? They have more capital, they have more things going for them, so they can just sort of multiply this and just grow and grow and grow faster than developing economies. But this is not the case in real life. The case in real life is that developing economies actually grow faster than developed economies. So how do we explain this? A very good tool to explain this is actually the Solow model. The Solow model gives an interaction, gives us a picture of the interaction of little k and little y. And little k is capital per labor, while little y is output per labor, which essentially is GDP per capita, right? So note here in the Solow model, in our horizontal and our vertical axis, everything is in per worker terms, meaning that they are divided by labor. So we're going to be seeing it that way, so you guys are not confused. So now, we in this model assume that there are two factors of production in the economy, and the most important factors in the production in the economy is capital and labor. Some of you might think, oh, there are many other factors of production. Well, that is true, but in this model, we assume that these two are the most significant one, because actually they're the most significant one in real life, right? So we're gonna explain the economy by these two factors of production, capital and labor first. Okay. So let's say you are a developing economy and you have a certain a certain capital per labor, and that is low, right? Because you're a developing economy, you're still investing in your capital, so your labor is a lot maybe, so your capital per labor, it's kind of low. So once you invest on that new capital, right, you increase the capital, that capital became very productive, right? Because you must remember here that the first time you injected that capital had made labor, your people, very productive, and hence it increases output. So you can see here at K1, it increases output per capita. It increases here. Y1 is the output per capita. But then let's say you in the future, as the country would increase again its capital per capita, which is little k, from K1 to K2. Yeah, this will result to an increase in output per capita, but here's the trick. It will increase it, but at a decreasing rate. So it will not increase as like 0 to K1, not that much. It will still increase, but at a decreasing rate, right? And let's say in the far future, you increase again your capital per capita from K2 to K3. Yes, it will again increase your output per capita, but again at a decreasing rate. So this tells us that as you increase your capital per capita, Y, which is output per capita, increases, but at a decreasing rate. The reason for this is diminishing, the iron logic of diminishing returns in economics, right? I'm going to draw something here, a tangent line, which denotes the MPK, which is the marginal product of capital. If we keep, the principle in economics is that if we keep labor constant and we keep adding capital to that constant amount of labor, for instance, right, the capital will be less and less and less productive. So that is the rule of diminishing return for marginal product of capital. So in here we can see, right, which just portrays that rule. Like if capital per capita increases, like for a certain amount of labor, the capital increase, it will boost income per capita, which is GDP per capita essentially, but at a slower rate. That is why if you see in this section in my line here, in the green line that I'm drawing here, countries are experiencing high growth. and from K1 to K2 maybe medium growth, and K2 to K3 maybe slower growth. So it just, as it develops and it has more capital per capita, it grows slowly and slowly, and that is why developing economies grow faster than developed economies. And in order to portray this, just to solidify this concept, is you should consider the concept of Japan and Germany, a famous case when used to explain the Solow model. Like, consider after World War II, Japan and Germany were bombed, right? Bombed by the Allies, and they had very low capital stock. They were devastated. But the question came, that's why was Japan and Germany growing much faster than the US was growing after World War II? So economists started wondering, is that it's because that Japan, after the war capital stock were destroyed, and Germany the same thing. Once they invested on new capital, it became very effective because the capital per labor is low. So the output per capita was increasing in a kind of high scale. But in the U.S., not much got destroyed. I think less. I'm not sure about the history, but essentially the capital per capita was constant, but was not changing. So when they started to increase, they just increased at a very low. They they increased it to K4 here, a very low increase in output per capita. That is why their growth rate is, what do you call it? Their growth rate is relatively very small to Japan and Germany. And that is the reason, a very interesting insight I would regard as why developing economies grow faster than developed economies. I hope this will serve as an interesting insight and also as an interesting hook to studying the Solow growth model. Thank you for watching.